Well, everyone, this episode of the podcast once again is sponsored by 101 CBD because they have the cleanest, most effective CBD products that I've found out there. And a huge reason for that is because they use raw CBD oil, which means it hasn't been decarboxylated or heated up while it was being processed. So it's a more complete whole compound, and our bodies recognize it, absorb it, and use raw CBD a lot easier than any of the decarboxylated CBD products that you're going to find online or in a cannabis dispensary. And since it's hemp-derived CBD, they can ship it worldwide without a problem. So go over to 101cbd.org, take a look at what they do, pick yourself up some CBD, and at checkout, use coupon code IMGS25 for 25% off of your order. And now to all you cultivators and home growers, big or small, you need to save time and you need to save money on water, nutrients, and electricity. The easiest way that I know how to do this is to use the plant DNA sex testing kit from Delta Leaf Labs. With that test, you're going to find out 4 times faster the sex of your plant. So you'll be able to make your decision about what you're going to do that much quicker. So go over to deltaleaflabs.com, order your plant testing kits today, and at checkout, you can use promo code IMGS10 to get 10% off of that order. Alright, now let's get started. Well, brothers and sisters, mis amigos, I want to welcome you back to the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex. Thank you once again for showing up. This is episode number 69. Yeah, I can't believe that. I was writing it down. I was like, wow, 69, holy shit. Plus, that's a really good number. All right, but seriously, though. So I'm sure you've noticed I've got some new music going on. And I kind of had to do that since my computer had a meltdown last week and I can't get to any of my old files. So I've been having to slowly kind of piece together the music that I use for the background and everything. Yeah, so that's been an interesting thing to do. To be on the internet looking for royalty-free music, it's not easy. Because there is a lot of royalty-free music out there, but a lot of it's really bad. Everybody thinks they're a fucking musician. Anyways, so last weekend was the 4th of July. I hope everybody had a safe and sane 4th of July. I hope everyone, wound up with all of their toes, fingers, eyes. I hope nobody did anything too dangerous. If you did do something dangerous and you survived it, without too much of a scar, send it to me. I want to see the video. What did I do on the 4th? The typical things you do in California, man. In a small town, you get up, you go to the parade in the morning, sit down on your chair, you feel a little bit of an earthquake. Yeah, can you believe it? We had an earthquake on the 4th of July. That was a fun time. I've been in California a little over 20 years, almost 25 years, and that's the first time I felt an earthquake. So it was an interesting feeling. Let's see, what else? A little later, I'm going to talk to my buddy Rooster, who's an awesome home grower from New York. He's also going to give us a little report from the cannabis front line as far as cannabis and the state of New York. And also, before I get too deep in the show, I want to thank everybody for all your support. All your support financially, all your support, subscribing to the podcast, subscribing to the website, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, now let's move on to the strain of the week. And today I'm going to give it up to the Temple of the Dawg. And she's a cross between the Black Dawg OG and the Temple Kush. Now this is a very heavy leaning indica hybrid. Now the internet says it's really intense. I liked it as an indica. It didn't give me that couch lock though. From what I had read, I thought it was going to just knock me on my ass. But it didn't give me that couch lock, but it also didn't give me the get up and go that I like with my sativas. It was kind of a nice middle ground. Plus, it had this really great smell, man. This wet dirt, kind of gassy smell to it. I loved it, man. I loved it. It was a great aroma. It was a great taste. It made me feel different in all my special spots, like behind the eyeballs. It was all So yeah, Temple of the Dawg. If you see it out there, pick it up. But please, do me a favor. Just share it responsibly, okay? Nah, you can be a little irresponsible with it. Go ahead and get really high with it. That's okay. I give you permission. So if you follow me on Instagram @InMyGrow, last week I put up a picture of a couple of clones that I'm making from some bag seed mystery plants that I've got going. The main reason why I'm cloning them is because I'm trying to sex them. So what I'll do is I'll top them, cut off about the top 3 inches of the plant, which is, the apical stem, the main stem. I'll get it ready the way I would when I'm making any other kind of clone, grab some sterile scissors and scrape away the outer layer of the cuticle, that waxy outer skin, cut it at the node in the diagonal kind of way, and then put it in a cup of water. But you know what? This time I used the rooting formula from Dynagrow, which is the KLN. So I'll see how that goes. But anyways, like I was saying, I top the plants and I clone them because I'm trying to sex them. So the best way I found to sex them is to clone the tops, put them in the cabinet on a 12-12, and after about 7 to 12 days, because in a cup of water it does take a little longer than if I were using a cloner, those clones are going to start to root, and they're also going to start to show their sex because of the 12-12 light cycle. So here's something I want to mention, and this is if you're in the LA area. And I found this kind of late. I found this a couple of days ago. Here it is. It says, the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation, DCR, is pleased to announce the release of a request for qualification which seeks to retain on-call business development services for the city's social equity program. The RFQ, the request for qualification, seeks one or more consultants to develop and conduct business development curriculums, training, licensing, and compliance assistance and related services intended to support applicants and licensees eligible to participate in the SEP pursuant to the Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 104.20. But here's the kicker. Like I said, I'm a little late on this. Responses are due Friday, July 12th, 2019 at 2 p.m. Yeah, that's a couple of days away, guys. So hopefully you've already got your idea together and ready to be sent out. There will be a link in the show notes so you can just take a look at it for yourself and see if what you're doing is compatible with what they want. All right, now something else I wanted to read. It just kind of tripped me out. I just kind of came upon it. About a week ago, I was listening to a podcast. I'm almost sure it was a cannabis podcast. It was either Grow From Your Heart podcast or the Dude Grow Show or Shaping Fire. I was listening to one of those last week, and it was on in the background, so I really wasn't paying too much attention about what they were talking about. But I heard them say something about seed companies now putting out disclaimers as far as the legality of what they're doing. And like I said, it was on in the background, so I really wasn't paying too close of attention. I just remember them saying those things. And I was on the internet the other day looking up seeds, and I came across this disclaimer that I found from a European seed company. And it says, please remember these seeds are for souvenirs or novelty purposes only. They are not to be germinated. In bold print, it says, please do not break the law. The pictures and descriptions have been created by the seed breeders who operate within a country with a legal and tolerant view of cannabis cultivation. This website and its owners in no way incite or encourage people to break the law. I like that bit, though, that they're souvenir purposes or novelty purposes only. They're just to look at, man. You can't just plant them. I thought that was interesting. Thought that was kind of funny, too, at the same time. Mostly because it's just a trip to kind of the hoops that people are jumping through just to get around, cannabis prohibition. But good on them for finding a way around it. I think that's pretty cool, man. Alright, so next, I'm really excited to play for you guys a conversation that I had with my buddy Rooster, who's a really, really awesome home grower from New York. Somebody had showed me a video of his cannabis garden like over a year ago, and we've been communicating back and forth since then. And I've been trying to get him on the show for a while to talk about his style of growing. But since he is in New York State and what he does is considered illegal, we had to take some precautions just to protect him. So I'm glad we figured it out because I really enjoyed talking to him on the show. Hang tight, I'm going to play a little bit of music and then I'll put that on for you. Well, everyone, get this. On the phone with me, I've got my buddy Rooster, who is coming to us from a bunker deep underneath the state of New York. If you've ever had a chance to see his work, you'd agree that he is an awesome home grower, and he's been known to dabble a little bit in backyard breeding. Rooster, brother, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, buddy. How you been?
I've been really good, man, and I want to thank you for being able to have this conversation with me because I know we've had to take a couple of precautions just to make sure that you're able to be on the show, man.
Right, right.
Because when we spoke last, after I got off the phone with you last time, I went ahead and got online and kind of refreshed myself as far as what cannabis is like in New York. And damn, brother, I got to say, you guys got some draconian laws attached to cannabis still, man.
Yeah, so right now, things are kind of up in the air with where New York stands. So there's a majority of the state that wants legalization, but there's a small percentage of elite that are deep into the city that just don't want it. And they may not even be the people that you'd expect to not want it. But they've got a grip on this entire area right now. And I think they're holding on to that grip so that they can formulate their own business plans and get their money buddies involved. And basically not even give us a platform to ever even try.
So who are the people who are like against legalization or yeah?
Well, we've got a lot of congressmen that just come from old money in New York State. New York State's an old money state, and everybody assumes that they're going to follow kind of what California does because they're both kind of real liberal, blue, progressive states. But that's really not the case because we've got that old money in New York State that just kind of prevents that from happening.
Yeah, so just so everybody realizes, in New York State, as far as like recreational, there's no recreational law use at all in New York. Cannabis is illegal completely in New York.
Yep. So basically what we have in New York is we have a fraudulent medical system that says it's medicinal, but it's really only edibles and oils. There's no flower. There's absolutely zero home growing in New York. There's no recreational. We finally just got a decriminalization underneath 2 ounces, and everybody's jumping for joy over that. However, if you look back a year ago, we were promised recreational legalization to mirror what Colorado's market looked like at the time.
Yeah, don't do what California did, man. We we were way too quick to vote, man. We were way too excited and just let all kinds of shit just pass through that law.
Yep. That's the problem with these 500-600 page bills. Who has the time to sit there and read that? If you're somebody that's active and you have a job and you have a hobby like a grow, you don't have time to sift through those 600 pages and look for that one sentence that really destroys it all.
Yeah, and it seems like it's by design too. They do that by design, so because they know how much time it does take and how much effort you have to put into it. Because, I was looking at even the medical side, man. The medical, you guys got like maybe 15 conditions that qualify.
Yeah, we have the worst laws, probably if not the worst, then right up there in the top 5 worst medical laws within the whole nation at the point.
And like you were saying, there's no cultivation for patients at all. Everything you guys have to pick up from somebody else. A third party has to make your stuff for you.
Right. And if you want, to be in the medical program, you have to go to that dispensary, get that product, and you have no clue the background of any of that because, like you said, it's all third party. There's only 5 dispensaries in the whole state, and I think they're all owned by the exact same company. So we really already got the monopoly that everybody dreads in New York State.
Hey, so now speaking of that medical side too, just to talk about kind of it paralleled California a bit, and also the way it kind of fucked it up, was that talk a little bit about, if it's anything like it was in California, gun possession and being a medical patient. Because the way it was in California when you were a patient, I don't know if it still is now. I'm not a registered patient anymore, but in order for me to be a patient, I had to give up my guns.
Yep. So that was something that was just passed before the marijuana legislation even passed. They promised this marijuana recreational for us for this legislative session, and then ultimately what ended up happening was they passed this red flag law. So they gave everybody this big marijuana recreational distraction, and ultimately they passed a bill that allows a teacher, a neighbor, anybody to basically say that they feel threatened by you. The cops can come, take away your firearms, no warrants, none of that, and they'll do the investigation later. So this was just passed in New York State, which is extremely troubling. And within that law, there is an actual section related to marijuana. And if you smoke marijuana on the medical card program, you do not have the right to possess your Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, which fuck, man, which always kind of
it's a fatal flaw because a lot of people that that hunt. New York is a giant state, so everybody assumes that New York is a city. New York is not a city.
No.
It's huge, and there's a lot of hunting. There's a lot of all that other stuff in New York State, and you've eliminated them from joining the medicinal side and to continue taking big pharma's drugs by putting that one clause in there. That's that fatal sentence.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, I mean, I don't know if people really realize that they've created now this whole segment of new criminals that really has nothing to do with criminality.
Yeah, I'm not a criminal, man, so I'm gonna get into my background real quick, just kind of real briefly. I'm a recovering addict. I've got 7 years clean. Used to be a huge opioid addict. I had an injury when I was a child that led to a daily opioid regimen at 16.
Oh wow.
Ultimately had surgeries, etc. Finally got clean. The only thing I take is marijuana. I mean, that's it. I don't do anything else. I don't even take Tylenol, no NyQuil, no nothing. I'm 100% like water, food, marijuana. And it's a shame that people aren't able to live this life because of the laws that this state has implemented. I would be a model citizen if my state was legal cannabis. I would be an absolute model citizen.
Yeah, man, it just trips me out when it's like that. That because of just this narrow-minded thinking of cannabis, we're gonna take away people's right to bear arms. I mean, no other condition, no other drug do they do that for. It's not alcohol.
No, and I mean, yeah, and like when you just said alcohol, think about alcohol. Think about how bad your judgment is after you've drank for 6 hours. Now, let's say you have a bunch of people over at your house and you all get hammered. You walk outside and your best friend's kissing your girl. Man, you've got slow judgment. You're completely fucked up. You're liable to go inside and blow his head off. But that stuff doesn't happen with marijuana. I don't know if that happens in your world, but people don't argue. People don't do things that jeopardize their train of thought at the moment. And we have all these other drugs that do, but you're completely able to take those and not be affected by the legislation for which you reside. But marijuana, for some reason, misses that mark, and we're targeted.
Hey, so now let me ask you something, and I'm curious, you specifically, because like I've said, I enjoy your work, bro. The type of work you do. When I see videos of your gardens, I'm telling you, man, I've told you this before. You need to pipe in some fucking jungle music. It's so lush in there, bro. So
appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Good work, man. But my question is, what would the law have to look like for you to want to come out of the shadows?
So what the law would have to look like for me?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a utopian law, and then there's an applicable law. Applicable would be something that would meet the desires and the needs of the people, and that would be some type of legislation that's going to come on board that's going to allow the small farm to get licensed and be operational within a set of guidelines that aren't detrimental to profits, as in like plant counts, things like that. Mm-hmm. So to get people in the market, licensed and ready to operate with under $20,000 startup cost without facility. I mean, if we can get the legalities of this entire industry entry level under $20,000 and
wow.
be able to give back to these small rural towns across New York that don't have anything. We're farm families. I mean, New York was a farming state. We only have this little city that steals the spotlight. So if we can make this an option for some of these people that live in the rural areas where there's nothing and give them an industry, the state's going to prosper. Now, the utopian version says that you don't have any of those licensing and that just about anybody can grow marijuana and sell it to a dispensary. But you run into issues with that. You run into pesticides, you run into all kinds of problems and people that don't do things exactly the way that they should be. People that jump into the market before they're ready.
Sure.
So we need to not have that, but we do need to be able to allow the small timers that are somewhat new to the industry that maybe didn't present the black market that New York has in spades.
So you're not against some kind of regulation as far as
well, you have to have some type of regulation. Without some type of regulation, you've got people running rampant. Now, what I mean by some type of regulation is more or less you've got to have an oversight committee. I would like to see a small team of people that would maybe visit a grow and not write tickets. That's state represented, that says, hey, you are missing this, this, and this. Please fix this the next time we come back. Sort of like the Food and Drug Administration does when they go into a restaurant.
Yeah, because
they don't find people the first time they go in.
Yeah, right.
Why can't we have that in the marijuana industry with some of these licensed operations that sell the dispensaries that are small scale? I think that's applicable. We already do it for restaurants.
I think very much so that's applicable. It's just that as soon as municipalities hear cannabis, bro, it's all about the dollar signs in their head. It's like, fuck warning them, just fine them.
Right.
At least, especially that's how it looks like out here in California.
Yeah. Well, that is exactly what it is. I think that's the whole farming industry. We haven't really had one in how many years? The farming industry's been taken over by big agriculture. You've got these farms that have tractors that can plant seeds 80 feet in a span in one pass down a field. And there's no small farms anymore because of that. And, they're always going to try to get to that point, but you can't allow it.
Like you were saying, we have to move in the direction of protecting the small cultivator, the small grower, the small breeder, because there's fucking room for everybody.
There's definitely room for everybody. Everybody grows something different, man. I go to the Cannabis Cup. I don't go there so I can smoke on my own weed. I go there so I can try all the great weeds from all over the place. That's what this is about.
Yeah, for sure, man. It is. So let me ask you something then. Are you like a New York boy? You're like born and raised? I'm just asking this because, would you ever think about moving to another state? Let's say a cultivator came to you and said, "Hey, look, I want you to be lead grower at my hemp farm, but it's in California, so you can grow your own weed." Would that be a possibility for you, or are you just like you're gonna stay in New York and just hope work for those laws to change in your state?
Well, so the cannabis grower in me is always like, yeah, let's do that. I always want to grow for a living, but I come from a gigantic family deep in this bunker that I'm in, and I think it would be really hard to, because at the moment, if I need a plumber, if I need an electrician, a mechanic, if I need a carpenter, dude, I got all that stuff and all those resources for free.
Yeah.
And all I have to give up in return is like time. We'll get together with 20 of us. We'll throw a house together in a week.
Nice.
And it's hard to leave that for another aspect of somebody else's dream. I'd rather make my desires to work for myself. So no, I wouldn't take off. I think I'm going to ride it out and wait for my chance to prosper where I'm at.
Right, it's right on. Hey, so are you involved in trying to change cannabis laws out there? Are you part of some kind of group? I don't know if you're into groups.
I would love to be, man, but at the moment, my operations that I run allow my wife to stay home and raise our children as a stay-at-home mom.
Nice.
And I feel like if I was to bust into the scene and start speaking, I feel like I'd be kind of just putting a target on my back that I just don't want to do and jeopardize,
Absolutely.
I don't want to make her go to work, or I don't want to have any legality issues just because I spoke out. And I wish that I could, but I just live in a state where I don't think that it's a smart move.
Yeah, I can understand that, man. I can understand that completely, dude. So, changing gears here, man, let's talk a little bit about you and how you grow, brother. My first question is, how long have you been growing?
So I've been growing probably about 13 or 14 years now.
Nice.
And I've been really, really growing for about 5. I was always the kind of guy that would get, 20 clones from Jimmy up the road who's got a Camaro on his lawn on cinder blocks. And I would put those out, but I didn't really know what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
I used to stick them under trees because people say that the helicopters can see their heat.
Sure.
That's all nonsense,
Yep.
But when you're a teenager, you're young, your mind's fragile.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
listen to whatever, especially if it's somebody that's coming from older that's got a bunch of pot.
Well,
you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to listen to what this guy does.
That was going to be my next question was, so who taught you how to grow, or how did you learn how to grow?
So I used to grow like that for years, and I didn't really learn shit. My plants come out like shit. So then I got clean. Like I said, 7 years ago, I gave myself a solid 2.5 year break where I didn't partake in anything.
Wow, good for you.
Not
man.
even marijuana.
Good for
and
you,
then
man.
when during that 2 year span, all I did was read growing because I knew that I wanted to grow. It's when New York really started talking about legalization. California legalized, Colorado legalized. So this really got me excited. And so I started reading, and then I just started growing small scale. I did some T5 scrogs, some HPS grows, some LED grows. I got into the purple scene for a while, and I've just kind of evolved to where I'm at now. And I do, this is going to be the first year I haven't done a big outdoor crop in the last couple of years because we thought we were moving. But I usually grow somewhere around 30 to 40 pounds outdoors. And I just kind of guerrilla grow that shit where I hope no chopper's going to find it.
Oh, no shit. So you grow outdoors too, man? Because all the videos I've seen is of your operation inside.
Yeah, so if you scroll back on my grow, you'll see that I have, some pictures of some pretty big outdoor plants. I usually throw a couple out that which in New York, it's a pretty big accomplishment to have a grill plant that averages a pound. Wow. But I usually throw a handful of plants out that'll average a pound, and I make hedges out of hugelkultur. So I'll dig a trench, I'll line that trench with rotten logs, I'll fill it up with an organic mix with some pro mix and some of the natural soil right there. And I'll basically kind of create a super soil right there. It'll hold the moisture. And I don't even touch those, man. I don't even water them. I usually average like 10 pound a hedge.
So you
just
said,
on rainwater.
You said you're making hugel mounds?
What's that?
You
said hugel beds. It's hugelkultur. So it's a German method of growing where you put rotten logs and whatnot.
Yeah, I've read about it, man. Wow. That's really interesting, great, man. I was just talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago about that. Wow, that's interesting. I got to try that, man.
Yeah, so if anybody hears this and they want to try that and they really don't want to put the effort into doing that, the best way to try it is to go find an old beaver dam. Go find an old beaver dam go find a beaver dam and then go downstream because the beavers always built their next dam upstream. Go downstream 5, 6, 7 dams where they're never going to mess with them again and just destroy that big berm. I mean, till it right up, throw some plants in there, you'll come back. That thing will be like 20 pounds spread across the whole dam.
Ah, all right.
Unbelievable stuff.
Well, right on. Hey, so walk me through your indoor grow, man. So the videos that I've seen on it, how big is that room?
So that room I think is 12 by 14, but I'm only using like a little L section in the middle. The L section's 4 feet wide. It's 10 feet long, and then it's got a 4 foot by 3 foot swing to the right.
How tall is that?
It's 9 foot ceilings in there, but then there's a slant on the side where that little swing is.
Okay. What kind of lighting are you using? Are you an HID guy or LED?
So those are all quantum boards. There's 2 of the True North lightings in there, which is an LED that sort of mimics the quantum board, but it's a strip rather than a board. Mm-hmm. But all the rest of it's HLG. There's a total of 1,020 watts. So there's 1020 in there. Wow. And yeah, we pull about an average of 5 pounds probably on this run that's coming up. We're going to pull probably 5 off of 1,000. Brother. I think that's pretty spot on.
Wow, man. No, that's great fucking work. So are all your ladies, are they photo period?
Yeah, so I do grow some autos outside, and I will grow some autos here as soon as we move and get a new veg space. We're going to have some breeding projects coming up too, but yeah, I pretty much only mess around with photos. I find the auto flower strains just to be inferior, slightly inferior.
Well, yeah, I grew autos maybe one time I don't know, long time ago, man. I haven't really grown any since. I've been really tempted to. But yeah, we'll see. I'll get to that eventually.
I mean, they're cool. Like they're definitely cool to just have a seed sprout and then, get 2 to 3, 4 ounces 90 days later. But I mean, photo periods are definitely superior. I don't mean to offend auto growers, but photo periods.
Don't apologize to autos. They're all right. You're not gonna hurt their feelings. So what line of newts are you running in that room?
So I'm a Monsanto man. Everybody's gonna hate hearing this, but I still use the General Hydroponics Flora series, the Flora Grow, Flora Bloom, Flora Micro, and then I substitute some Fox Farm of the solubles along with that. Like the Beastie Blooms, Cha-Ching, all that stuff. And then, the whole real trick to growing that I've found has just been getting the soil pH stable at the start of the session and trying not to overfeed them and overwater them.
So you are a soil guy, though. You're not running.
I'm a soil guy. I starve them, man. I keep them dry. I keep them right on the brink, and they love it.
Really? So how often? So when do you water then? How often do you water?
Well, it kind of depends on the stage of life. Like right now I'm rolling into week 4 of flower, week 5 of flower. And so right now I'm only giving about a half gallon every other day. I'm really riding them on the light side.
Half a gallon for how big are the pots?
So those are going to be for pretty much all the 5-gallon buckets are getting a half gallon every other day.
Wow, you're really.
And then the 10-gallon buckets are getting about a gallon every other day.
You are running them light, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, they like it.
Fuck, man. Yeah, hey, I'm not. I don't criticize your style, bro. I've seen your gardens. It works for you. Yeah, I think I'm a little.
It's like the most common thing for soil growers is to just overwater. People are going to say that I underwater, but.
Well, see, I was going to say, I grow in soil. I don't like to leave, I like to let those first 2 inches dry out. And then, because in my mind, the deeper it goes, if it gets drier, some of that microbial life is just going to start to die. But
True.
Like I said, that's just how I grow. Good on you, bro. Wow. Right on. Except for, like you said, I got my criticisms about the Monsanto, the GH, but. Yeah. Hey, man.
Yeah, I mean, I need to switch off of it, but I've tried other newt lines, and I haven't found anything that really has the success that it provides for me. And as far as I know, that formula hasn't changed before they were Monsanto, so I'm just going to continue to rock it until I find something that conquers it.
Like you said, as far as I know, the formula hasn't changed. It's just the ownership, and everybody got all hood.
Yeah, and I hate the ownership, so I'm right there with everybody. I'm definitely not repping that brand.
Wow, we're right.
Or that line of elite people that own that company.
Right. Yeah, right, for sure, man. Hey, Rooster, thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to me, brother.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for reaching out.
All right, well, I would ask you to tell everybody how to find you, but let's not do that today. Let's not do that ever, or at least until you're set.
Yep.
But like I said, thanks again for getting on the phone with me, and we will hear from you some other time. But do me a favor, don't hang up, don't go anywhere. Everybody else, I'll be back. Hey, so I hope you liked that, because me personally, I really enjoyed talking to Rooster. And I also hope that New York State gets their shit together someday soon about cannabis. That way he can share videos of his cannabis garden with everybody. Because I tell you what, man, that guy's got a lot to teach. And once again, I want to thank my buddy Rooster for taking the time to come on the show and talk to us. I really do appreciate it. And if you have a question or a comment about this episode, send an email to inmygrow@gmail.com or just find us on Instagram @inmygrow. Now don't forget, if this episode has educated you, entertained you, or even given you a little escape from your day, do me a favor, go over to patreon.com/inmygrowshow and leave a donation. $1, $5, whatever you think is deserving. If you don't want to leave a donation, you can go over to the website inmygrow.com and click on the Support the Show tab. You can buy a t-shirt. Or at the bottom of the show notes in this episode, there is an Amazon link that you can click on before you go shopping to Amazon. And that just tells them that we sent you. and the show gets a commission. Now, if you can't support the show financially, don't worry about it, man. I get it. It's cool. But here's how you can help. Subscribe to the website, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then tell 3 other people about the show. One other thing I want to talk about before I leave is that if you go over to the website inmygrow.com and click on the doctors tab, you'll get a list of all the conversations that I've had with the different doctors. Whether it's Dr. Gillen, the veterinarian, or Dr. Jake Felice, who's a medical doctor, and he talks about, the different way cannabis can help certain disease conditions. Or Dr. Kurchansky, who helps me understand, the legalities of plant patents. Yeah, no, that's a crazy conversation. So if you want to hear a little bit of medical advice in cannabis, just go over there and click on the doctors tab. All right, mi gente, my people, that's all I've got for you today. That's it. That's a show. Remember that I love you all very much. And remember to always grow, learn, and teach.